All right, so back on this, we've got the same base of 4. So I can simplify by adding the exponents. So that's going to be 4 to the 3 halves plus 5 halves. That's 8 halves. 8 over 2 is equal to 4. So 4 to the 4th, we actually know that that is equal to 4 times 4 times 4 times 4, 256. Final solution. All right, next one. We have the same base of 27. So 27 to the 4/3 minus 2/3. That's 2 over 3. So 27 to the 2 over 3. But we know we can simplify that by saying power over root. So the cube root of 27 to the power of 2. So the cube root of 27 is 3 raised to the power of 2. 3 squared equals 9. Final answer. All right. Now for the next one, we have 125 to the 2/3 raised to the 1/2. So we have a power to a power. So we have 125, and then we could take those two exponents, 2/3 and 1/2. Whoop, the 2 was a little weird looking, times, because power to a power, we multiply. So the 2's are going to cancel, so 1/3. So 25 to the 1/3. So we have 125 to the 1/3, and once again, that's power over root. So we've got the cube root of 125 to the power of 1, but we don't really need to do power of 1. So the cube root of 125 is 5. Final answer. All right, so now we have two things being multiplied on the inside, and they're both being raised to the 2/3. So I can make my life easier, and I could distribute in the raised to the 2/3. So it would be 27 to the 2/3 times 64 to the 2/3. So then I have a power over root as an exponent. So my root is 3. My power is 2 times another one, power over root. So root is 3. The power is 2. So the cube root of 27, once again, is 3 squared times cube root of 64 is 4 squared. So we have 3 squared, which is 9, times 4 squared, which is 16. 9 times 16 equals 144. Final answer. All right, so same deal with number 5. We have a fraction and it's being raised to a power. So we can raise both the numerator and the denominator to that power. So 1 to the 1/5 over 243 to the 1/5. So power over root, so we've got the 5th root of 1 over, and then I don't really have to do the power of 1, and then the 5th root of 243. So the 5th root of 1 is 1 over the 5th root of 243. What number times itself 5 times is going to give me 243? And that's 3, so 1/3. All right, for number 6, we've got a negative exponent. So what do we do with a negative exponent? We relocate it into the denominator, and then we make it a positive exponent. And then we put a 1 up top. So now we have 1 over 64 to the 1/3. So that's going to be power over root. So it's going to be 1 over the cube root of 64 raised to the first power, but we don't really need to write that, equals 1 over The cube root of 64 is 4. Final answer. All right, so those are our properties being applied. Now we've got this. Sometimes it's easier to convert a radical expression into rational exponents before simplifying. Now the reason why is if I didn't have a calculator, 5 to the 8th would be kind of annoying to do. So what I could do is write it as 5 to the power over root, so 8 over the root of 4. 8 over 4 is equal to 2. So that's equal to 5 to the 2. 5 squared, 25. Final answer. Okay, so that's much easier to do, and I could do it without a calculator. So same idea with number 2. I can write it as x to the power over root, so the power is 5, the root is 10. X to the 5 over 10, that is reduced to x to the 1 over 2. So we can leave it like that, or if we want to write it in radical form, power over root, so this would be the square root of x raised to the first power, but remember we don't have to write that exponent. Okay, so either form, one will be with the rational exponent, one will be as a radical form. They mean the same thing. Okay, so number 3, same idea. I'm going to rewrite it as 25 to the power over root, so 25 to the 2 over 4. So that's going to be 25 to the 1/2. Okay, and then I say, all right, well, can I evaluate that and simplify that further? So we're going to use the same idea that we did right over here. Okay, and I'm going to write it in radical form. So 25 is to the 1/2 is the same thing as power over root, so the square root of 25 raised to the first power, but we don't really need to write that 1 as an exponent. So I know the square root of 25, square root of 25 equals 5. That's my final answer. Okay, so this is where we have to kind of look and see what's the easiest way to approach this, and then we can kind of go from there. All right, so number 1, we've got two things being multiplied that are inside of a root. So what I can do is, because they're being multiplied inside a root, I can do the root to both things. So I can do the cube root of 8 times the cube root of x to the 3rd. So both of them were under the cube root, so I could split them up because it's being multiplied. So I know the cube root of 8. The cube root of 8 is 2 times, well, what happens when you have a cube root and cubed? They cancel each other out. So we're left with x. 2 times x is 2x. All right, so number 2, the same idea, except for this time we've got two things inside the radical that are being divided. So I'm going to see, first of all, can I do the square root of the top over the square root of the bottom? Yep, I know the square root of 36 is 6 over the square root of 16 is 4. So 6 over 4 reduces to 3 over 2. For number 3, they have the same base, so it's going to be 2 to the, you add the exponents, 5, 2 to the 5th equals 32. All right, next one, number 4, we've got the same base of 3x, so it's going to equal 3x, and that's still in parentheses. And then what we do is we subtract the exponents, so 4 minus 2 is 2. And then 3x squared, this is now where we're going to distribute the exponent to both things. So 3 squared times x squared. So that's 9x squared. All right, next one, number 5, we've got 5 squared squared. So we multiply the exponents, so 5 to the 4th. That's 5 times 5 times 5 times 5, 625. All right, next one. We have an exponent, so we're going to multiply into all or distribute into all things. So 8 to the 1/3 over 27 to the 1/3. And then we have x to the 3rd times 1/3. So x to the 3rd times 1/3, those are going to cancel, so it's just x to the 1. But we don't need that 1 as the exponent. All right, so we can continue to simplify. Power over root, so this is going to be the cube root of 8. This is going to be the cube root of 27 times x. So the cube root of 8 is 2 times x over the cube root of 27 is 3. So it's 2x over 3. All right. So for number 7, we can kind of look and see, all right, it might be something exactly like number 2. Okay, so if I look at number 7 and I apply it and I do the same thing that I did for number 2, and I wrote it as radical 8x squared over radical 2x to the 4th, I'm like, uh-oh, I don't know how to do that. So I'm going to say, all right, never mind, I was wrong. That's probably not the way to do it, so I'm going to erase that. So that didn't help me doing the square root to both things like it did for number 2. I could answer those, but for number 7, I can't do it. So I have to double back and say, can I simplify inside the square root? Can I simplify inside that square root? Well, yeah, 8 over 2 reduces to 4. X to the, I can subtract the 2 exponents. 2 minus 4 would be negative 2. And then I could rewrite that as the square root of 4 over x squared. And now that I've simplified that inside, I can do the same exact thing that I just did with 2 again and see if then I can answer it. Square root of 4 over the square root of x squared. Okay, now this is much easier. Now I can do this. Square root of 4 is 2 over square root and squared are going to cancel, so x, 2 over x. All right, number 8. I've got a fraction and I've got it being raised to the 1/3, so I'm going to distribute the 1/3 into both the numerator and the denominator. So I've got 2 times 1 to the 1/3 over 8 to the 1/3. So I've got 2 times power over root, so the cube root of 1 over power over root, cube root of 8. So this is going to be 2 times cube root of 1 is 1 over cube root of 8 is 2. 2 times 1/2 equals 1. All right, so number 9, I look on the inside and I say, all right, square root. It's 2 things being multiplied, so I can do the square root of each thing. Square root of 25 times the square root of x squared. And then I have to remember that that's all being raised to the 3rd. So square root of 25 is 5. Square root and squared, those are going to cancel, so it's 5 times x, 5x, and that whole thing is being raised to the 3rd. So now I've got to distribute the 3rd into both things, 5 to the 3rd, x to the 3rd, so that's going to equal 125 x to the 3rd. All right, guys, you try the second sheet that is just like this.